They actually barricaded a bunch of the police officers in the inn itself. They were throwing shit. This protest went on for like 3 days, and it absolutely fundamentally changed a lot of people's behavior and perceptions towards the LGBTQ community in New York. Shall we, under the duvet, shall we talk about...
Did you know my kryptonite is awkward men?
Why is that? Is it guilt?
Should we talk about some other horrible, horrible government bureaucrats who were fucking the country over?
Yes, please. Oh, fuck, yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Ask yourself, what is the point of saying that?
Not in this economy.
Try harder, be better.
I haven't yet watched Fight Club. June, if you guys don't know, which how could you not know, is LGBTQ Pride Month. It's very exciting because we're actually going to be doing a really, really transformational case that impacted the LGBTQ community, true crime, society, politics, all sorts of things at the end of this month. So stay tuned for that. In the research that I was putting together for that particular episode, the reason I say it's exciting is because I feel like I have learned so many new things that I just didn't know. And obviously that is, comes from my privilege as being a straight woman who has just been like, yeah, of course I support Pride because I support equal rights, but I've never really understood how it started, why it started. And I have discovered that this month. I'm sure lots of people listening are going to be like, we knew all of this. I didn't, so I really want to talk about it. And hopefully some people, maybe 10 people, will walk away from this episode of Under the Duvet also having learned something new that they didn't know before. So I learned about how Pride Month was actually shaped by an incident called the Stonewall Uprising. Before I get to that, though, I would like to make a quick point about Western countries patting themselves on the back about LGBTQ rights by reminding everybody that it was only in 1973 that the American Psychiatric Association removed the diagnosis of homosexuality from the second edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, so the DSM-2, from being a pathology. So they, up until 1973, they had homosexuality listed in the DSM-2 as a pathology, as a mental disorder, Let's all just remember that, shall we? So anyway, that was happening. So in the midst of that, so pre-1973 is when we're talking. Prohibition was obviously a thing. I actually don't know the exact timelines of like when this was kicking about, but I want to say in the 50s, because I feel like when you go to one of those fucking Bay speakeasy bars in London, it's like 1950s.
I'm sure Prohibition ended in 1930s.
Oh, was it? Okay, maybe I'm thinking 1920s. Of course, because they were all like madmen drinking their whiskeys while they were driving their cars.
Why cocktails are so much more prevalent in America than they are here, because it was stronger to make gin in your bath.
Oh,
so that's why, like, I feel like I'm.
No, I think you're right. I think I'm mixing it up.
It's difficult to get your hands on a fucking pint in America in some places. I think like the drinking culture is different, and a lot of that comes from spirits being easier to smuggle because obviously they're stronger and there's less volume.
Yeah, you want to have get bang for your buck on what you're smuggling in. Okay, exactly. No, you're right, it does make more sense. I think maybe I'm getting confused. So Prohibition bars probably like 1920s,
30s.
Yeah, let's go for that. You're right, because obviously 50s they were all fucking drunk all the time. So anyway, after Prohibition did end for the general population at whatever time it didn't immediately follow suit for the gay community, because apparently, and again, something new I learned, many of the gay bars in America didn't have liquor licenses granted to them, because basically the general vibe seemed to be there's already a lot of depravity going on in those places. We don't need to fuel it with alcohol. So there was some sort of like moral stance that the government was taking about and refusing liquor licenses to gay bars. So for a long time, what the establishment owners of these kind of places would do is grease the palms of police officers who would come around and do raids. And obviously this is like a handy little, hand in the pocket, finger in the till kind of thing for the police officers, because they know they're not meant to sell liquor, but obviously they do. So we'll just go and get money off them. This did eventually change, but the police raids did not. And in 1969, one particular raid like this went down at a place called the Stonewall Inn. Again, it was going to be like your kind of textbook police raid. The police officers poured in. The plan was to threaten the bar staff, to threaten the clientele, to drag the gay patrons outside, and to beat them up, humiliate them, and take everybody's money, essentially. A fine old day out for the police that day. At least that was their plan. But what happened is they went to the Stonewall Inn, which is the name of this place, and it was in the Greenwich Village area of New York. And the people there were like, no fucking way. We're not having it tonight. And shit kicked off. I know this is not the most detailed explanation of what happened, but there was a bunch of activists there and they were like, fuck no. And they essentially started what many people call a riot. I would prefer to call it an uprising or a rebellion, as I know that is obviously the better term for what was happening. And they just were like, fuck no. They actually barricaded a bunch of the police officers in the inn itself. They were throwing shit. This protest went on for like 3 days. And it absolutely fundamentally changed a lot of people's behavior and perceptions towards the LGBTQ community in New York. I'm not saying things were perfect after this, of course not. But some of the people who were there said things like, after this, people who had before been scared to hold hands in public decided that things were never going to go back to the way that they were. And they started to openly show off their sexuality. And I just think what an incredible thing. And this Stonewall Rebellion has actually helped to spark much of the modern LGBTQ civil rights movement. And that's why, because it happened in June, we celebrate Pride in the month of June. And I love that. I love that
I'm
story.
so happy that you've like just discovered it.
I love
it's like
that.
To be fair, I only know about it because of my drag queen obsession.
Yes,
so,
of course.
And like Paris is Burning and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Which please watch.
I will.
It's like, I love that film so much. It's a great a story, a great cause. And yeah, it's just that it's an interesting what's the word?
Origin story.
Fucking civil disobedience.
Oh, absolutely. Love
Sign
it.
me
Can't
up.
get enough of it. And speaking of activists and civil disobedience, obviously many of you will also know that, of course, Marsha P. Johnson, who was a Black transgender woman and activist for the LGBTQ community, is cited as the person to have started Pride, which I think is a fantastic thing like to talk about. Again, it's not something I knew until a few years ago. And I've actually had Marsha on our list of cases to do for quite a while, because I know she died under some sort of like, there's an air of mystery or suspicion around how she died. I can't for the life of me find enough information to actually do a case on it. If anybody knows if there's like a really good book about it or a really good resource, please do share it, because every time I start to look at that case, I feel like I hit a bit of a wall with it. But Marsha was actually at the Stonewall Rebellion. A lot of people do say in the articles that I read that she threw the first brick at police. But I do believe that Marsha in like interviews after that said that she didn't, and said that she didn't actually arrive until the rebellion or the protest was already in full swing. But again, interesting like origin story for Pride. And I love that she was there. I'm just like, I feel like I'm learning so much. It's great. It's exciting times over on the laptop of Sruti.